Hi, this is Alfred speaking from Engineer Studio Hollows. I want to introduce you to CBox. CBox is our application or tool set that brings a lot of functionality, additional tools that are not available in CAD systems, to AutoCAD and to BricsCAD, and maybe more in the future. CBox has a lot of advantages. One is it is free. It is free software. Just download, install and use it. Second advantage is you can build your own drawing structure, which means you can define your own commands in a very easy way. Drag and drop to start the command, and the command itself knows what is to draw, what layers are to use, what color, line type, line weight, transparency and so on. When it uses a block name, it knows which block. When it uses a layer, it knows by default the properties of the layer. You can distribute this configuration you do one time to all your employees or your partners if you collaborate with them, and get so a version of tools or a summary of tools that increases quality and efficiency. Because every time a user is drawing, in this example, a parcel border, he does not have to set the color, he does not have to set the layer, he does not have to select line or polyline or 3D polyline, he does not have to know a block name, he does not need to know a text style name, a dimension style name, if a dimension or a text is to be drawn. All that time is not necessary anymore. That makes you faster, and it increases the quality because you are always on the correct layer. You even can't do anything on the wrong layer as long as you use this functionality. That's one goal. The other goal is that we have additional functions that are sometimes difficult to do in AutoCAD or impossible to do with AutoCAD, and this additional functionality is part of CBox. I've prepared a tutorial. You find the tutorial also in the application directory where CBox is installed. The link to install the CBox can be found below the video or in our blog, blog.hollows.at. What we show now is how to use CBox, very minimalistic, just to see what is going on, how it is thinking. First of all, we can split our dialog. That side shows our existing drawing functions. So for example, I want to change a layout. Drag and drop function is started for the second tutorial. I have the second layout. I make drag and drop and it changes to that layout, just to show how easy that can be. I have one drawing function, circle on layer K in color red. Let's see, drag and drop, start. I'm in the circle command, circle is red, circle is on layer K. I start the line command, drag drop, the line is blue, the line is on layer L. Where can I define these settings? I can split the CBox function tree into two parts. Now I am on the left side is my drawing function tree. On the right side we have all available functions we can use, functions for blocks, all that are functions for blocks. We have block with attributes. What can we do inside of CBox with attributes? Next is generic functionality. We have some cleanup functions. We have some functions for external references, for facility management, and so on. So what we are having on that side is the available functions we can use, and on this side we have the functions we can use to draw, which are already defined. On the lower side we see the settings for each of these drawing functions, where we can define, for example, we can define the layer for circle. If you want to have a circle on the layer name K1, I use K1, drag drop, edit mode stop, then we can drag drop and we have a circle on layer K1. When do we need the edit mode and stop the edit mode? The edit mode means as long as I'm inside the mode, drag and drop means I can rearrange the tree. Or, for example, I can add a new function. Let's try it. Let's add a new function. Execute command. I want to have a new execute command below of that in the tree. So as long as I have edit active, I can rearrange the items. I can duplicate, delete and do anything else, or I can use new functions from the available CBox tools and bring it into your function tree. Edit mode stop means now we have the possibility to use these functions for our drawing. Let's see how I can finish the new command. New command means command is underline P line. I want draw polyline. Draw polyline is a text that is shown here. P line is a command that I would use in the same way in the keyboard on the command line. I can say a layer name PL for polyline. I can define entity color or anything else. Let's see, does it work? I draw polyline, and what I see is it works on that layer. I can change the entity color if it needs to be necessary. I'm no friend of that, but it's possible, and we are ready with the configuration. Whatever is configured on this side can save as file, sent to your partner, can be stored on your network folder, so every user inside your company is using the same file. Okay, let's see what we can do if you get another drawing structure. For example, you have a partner who has his own drawing structure, his own layers, his own colors, line types, text styles and so on. It would be not very easy to each time use general, execute command, drag drop, do the settings, define the block name, define the layer name. Could be a little bit tricky if that is more complex than just 3 layers and 3 polyline types. So let's see the other situation. We have existing geometry and we want to create from that existing geometry drawing functions. What we see here, when we select all, we have 41 different objects, we have 15 blocks, we have 2 text objects, we have some polylines on different layers. As we can see here, we have polylines on 1, 2 and 3 layers. Let's see how we can get CBox drawing functions out from these objects. So we start in edit mode. I create a new group, right click to edit a group name. My import 01 is like a folder name, nothing else. And I start the function to import from our current drawing some objects. We should select objects, select all I want to import, enter to end the selection. I get here a list of all objects that are available based on the settings here. What we see, we have 5 different blocks. We have 1 text with this style. We have polylines, 3 different polylines because of 3 different layers. So let's see how we can use it. Just stop the edit mode. Let's see, insert fig 020 is a block name. That is a layer. We see the current layer is 0, so let's see what happens. Drag and drop. Let's see where we have a similar block symbol. That is a similar block symbol. I click that block symbol. It asks me for scaling and rotation. It asks the reference, the attribute editor for, in this time, a point number. And what we see, this is the object that was used to create this drawing function for CBox. and we have created that from the drawing functions. That means we have the same layer, we have the same color, we have the same line type, the same line weight, with just a different position. That's all we have different. All the rest is done. So every user who knows which type of symbol that is, for example, we know that this should be traffic, a symbol for traffic. The only thing I need to know is, let's make that traffic, or a road symbol for usage. That's the only thing that needs to be done. Rename the items, because that is the only necessary information. So click, and we have no rotation, we have no attribute this time. What is an additional advantage, for example, for blocks? For blocks, when we select here a block symbol, which properties do we see? We have on one side the block name, of course. We have a block layer, of course. He knows the layer from the source object we have imported. Rotation 0, but we have also now the question for, should we be asked for rotation? I say no. I know I want to have it with scale 0. I don't want to be asked for a scale. And I know this symbol will not get an attribute information at the start, so I don't want to be asked for attribute request. Every item we select here has a short description below in the help text. So when we have done our settings, let's see the difference. I import again the traffic symbol, I click the position, and I am not asked for a rotation, I am not asked for scaling, and I am not asked for a request for attribute request too. So that makes it again more easy to use and more efficient. You don't need more clicks than necessary. Let's see the polylines this time for parcel border. Drag and drop, polyline started. For a building border, polyline started, and other borders, polyline, and that's it. So we see all the information we had in our original geometry was converted to a lot of drawing functions just with one step, and we are finished with the configuration of CBox. We can do the same also with drawings. So let's see what's happened here. I make the import small. I create a new group, import 02. I start importing a complete drawing. I can also import a AutoCAD palette. So if you are using tool palettes, you can export the tool palette and import it using this function. Or what we do now, a drawing. Let's see, we have in our program folder for CBox tutorial, we have a DKM sample tutorial open, and that's it. So what we have got, a list of layers, and for each layer we see here which symbols or which drawing functions are to be started. The only thing we have to do now is to simply rename that items so the user has a name, he knows what's behind. So for example, that's parcel number block. We have parcel border. We have points survey. We have building border. And I guess that is a situation quite fast done, edit, and if we are now in the situation to have to draw something, start building border, drag, drop, and we have a building border. That's so easy, and we have imported all objects that exist in a foreign drawing into a CBox tree. The only work you have is renaming it. All the other things are done. That's easy. I hope it's easy for you too. Okay, that's how we can generate drawing functions. The advantage is, if you have a foreign drawing from a partner that uses an own layer structure, that uses own block namings, you just import it, rename the items, so it's more easy to understand what's behind that function. But the user who uses this tree to draw, to create a project, does not need to know anything again. Nothing about layer, line type, line weight, dimension style, text style, block names, and so on. Okay, so a sample for how can we create commands. Next I will show you some sample commands we have built in. We'll just a few, because otherwise the video would need a week or so. An option we know all, set by layer, is a function that is available to create all objects and convert color by layer, line weight by layer, line type by layer, and so on. Nothing else is here done. We can drag and drop the function. Let's look first. We see we have the line type is by layer, line weight is by layer, color is by layer, but it's a block, and inside the block it looks different. We have here the situation, line weight is overwritten, line type is overwritten, not by block. We have the situation, line type is overwritten, line weight is overwritten, not by block. And let's see what we have here. Color is overwritten, line type is overwritten, only line weight is by layer. So we want to have all by layer. What do we have to do? Drag, drop, finished. And the difference that's important, it is first fast. And we have one additional advantage, two additional advantages. We can select what we want to convert. If we only want to convert the colors and not the line type and not the line weight, then we can say, okay, make drag and drop, and we see only the color is converted, but not the line types, not the line weights. Or we turn on all, and additional to the first start we have done, I also want to change what is inside of a block defined as by block. I want to convert that too. That means again drag and drop, and we see that the block now looks different. Okay, it's that easy. Drag, drop, finished. Let's take a look to another CBox functionality. Change a layout. Well, we have created layers, we have used blocks and so on, but we have not thought about where does the information about the layer settings like color, layer line weight, layer line type is coming from. We've also not thought about we insert a block, but where did the block come from? Was it already defined in my drawing or not? And that's one part of the CBox that's, I guess, a really good part and makes it so efficient. Whenever I import a layer, for example, I make a simple drawing command like a line, and I want to draw a line on this layer. Let's take a look if into the layer dialog we have currently in our current drawing. We have CBox. We have some CBox layers already, but the layer CBox tutorial layer import does not exist. CBox tutorial yes, but not CBox tutorial import. So I close the layer dialog. I start now the drawing function, drag and drop, click, and what do we see? We see that the layer was created. Of course, that's not new, but the layer has a color, the layer has a line type. Where does it come from? It knows color 184, it knows line type dashed, it knows line weight 0.35. Where does it come from? We have one special configuration part on the uppermost part of a CBox application window. We can open and close it, and we have one field defining the template drawing. What for do we need a template drawing? every time we start a command that uses a layer, that uses a dimension style, that uses a text style, that uses a block name, means it first looks in the current drawing if there exists the definition. For example, if we are looking for a layer, if this layer exists, then okay, it takes the layer of the current drawing. If the layer does not exist, as we have seen it, it looks into this drawing if the layer exists there. If yes, it imports from this template drawing the complete layer definition into the current drawing. So we have the layer name, we have the correct line type with the correct line width and so on. The advantage for that is you can start with a really clean empty drawing with just layer 0. When you use this structure, you get every layer you have defined in the template drawing also in the current drawing. No need to have a template drawing with, don't know, 200 layers defined just because we might need 5 of them. No, not necessary anymore. You don't need the blocks imported, you don't need the layers imported, because CBox uses the definitions from the template drawing when you start the drawing function. So also there you have the advantage. Just copy this template drawing to your network folder and define all your users to use that template setting, and whenever you add 3, 5, 10 layers to the template drawing, every user can use it and does not need to have a predefined template to start with. Also, if you open a foreign drawing and you want to add some information in your drawing structure, no need to first import layers. A drawing function like that takes the layer from a definition. For block information, there is one different situation. For block definitions, we have 2 approaches, besides of the block is already defined in the current drawing. If not, then CBox looks in the template if the drawing, if this template contains a block with the name we search for, and if not, it looks in that folder, and not just for DWG files inside this specific folder, but also for a DWG file with a block name in any of the subfolders of that root folder. So you can have different folders as subfolders of this directory name, and all subfolders will be searched for the block name. So let's see for a text, for example. We have, using a command text, we see that there's a Lisp statement. It looks a little bit different. What do we see? We have a layer name, we have entity color, and so on. And if we use a text, we have the possibility to set here the text style name. The text style name A_default should be used. Let's see inside our current drawing, we don't have any style called A_default. So let's see what happens when we start the command. We start the command text and ABCD. Ready. What do we see? We have a text created. We have a style set A_default, and if we look to style, there it is. This information that is in an Arial font was imported from the template drawing and already finished. No need to have it already in our empty drawing all defined. Same with dimension styles. No need to show that again. I hope that makes sense. Let's see another situation, cleaning of drawings. Always, besides of audit and purge, what we do is more cleaning than that. For example, we have an option for erasing small objects. Erase small objects means we have a function, a CBox function that's called erase small objects, and we can set a distance or a value that every object smaller than this distance should be deleted. When we look into the drawing, we see here some lines. We have a line length of 0.1, so it is smaller than 0.15. We have a circle, its diameter is smaller than 0.15, and we have a text that's also smaller. Let's see, this text is not as high as 0.15, but is longer than 0.15. So what we are measuring is the extents of the object. Delta x and delta y both need to be smaller than 0.15. So the text that is longer than 0.15 will not be erased. Let's see what happens when we start the function drag and drop. All the small objects are gone. So we see the small lines are gone, we see the circle is gone, we see the small letter A is gone. We have another option. Let's do undo so we get them again. We have another option, because inside the polyline itself is more wide or high than 0.15, so it was not cleaned, but there is a small vertex that should be cleaned, a small segment that could be cleaned. Also, that can be done with clean polyline as CBox command. With a tolerance from clean polyline 0.02. Let's start clean polyline, drag and drop, and we see the polyline, the small segment is removed, and only segments larger than 0.02 stay resident in the object. So also for very small elements inside the polyline we can clean the polyline. It helps sometimes to make drawings more efficient, smaller in file size, and so loading faster. Let's see next. As a sample, we have scripting inside our CBox. That means not just starting one function, but doing many functions, one automatically after the other. Let's see what we have what we have here. We have here some blocks. Select similar means we have 6 blocks as a sample. We see that each block has an attribute ID and it has a number. What can we do? Often asked in forums, can we automatically give objects an ID or fill attributes with a counter? That is what we do here. Let's see how the counter works. First at all is we have a block name filter. We can say take blocks with that name on that layer. That is what we have here as filter. Take all blocks that call, the star is the asterisk is not necessary. Take all blocks with that name on any layer. The attribute ID should be filled with a counting value starting with 200 and increment by 1. So let's see if that works. Drag, drop, finished. 200, 201, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to simple 10. If we want to have, we see that we have 10, 11, we have 2 digits. How can we change to have, for example, 4 digits? We have a number format 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to have 4 digits, drag and drop, and we have 4 digits. We want to have a suffix like, for example, ID equals, drag and drop, and we have ID equals 0010 to 0015. So that's quite easy to understand. Let's see one additional thing about overwriting or filling. That's sometimes the situation that we need to fill only these ID values that are not already defined. So we have read block selected. I delete the ID attribute so it is empty, and now say value override existing text no, which means all attributes that already have a value should not be overridden, just the rest should be filled. So let's start, for example, this time with 100, so we see the difference, drag and drop, and only the ones that had not had a value before are filled with a new number. That is a simple one. The next one, and that's part of scripting, for example, we want to rename an attribute. Let's first return that we don't need a suffix, a prefix, sorry. Sorry. And now again. So, okay, just to make it more easy. What do we want to have? We have a block. The block has an attribute ID, and we want to rename the ID to room_ID. How to proceed? That's not easy, because if you go into block editor, rename the attributes, then run @sync, all values are done. Because the attribute ID does not exist anymore, so AutoCAD does not know after the normal handling of a block editor and @sync that he has to transfer the value from the old attribute ID to the new attribute with the tag room_ID. But we do that in a simple way. We first add a new attribute. The new attribute should be for all blocks with this name, any layer. The new attribute should be called room_ID on a specific layer with a text height, with a text width factor, standard properties we have for attributes, and an offset of 0.11 in X direction and 0 in Y direction. So from a position insertion position 0.11 to the left, and we don't want to have a predefined attribute, and we have the choice to position the attribute with the offset values based on the insertion point or based on the geometric center. Both options are available. We want to have it based on the insertion point of the block, and we also want to add the new attribute to the block definition, not just to the block insertions, which sometimes happens. I don't want to have something like that, but there are application developers who add attributes only to the insertions and not to the definitions, but that's another story. Okay, so first step is we add an attribute. Let's try what happens. Drag, drop. Did anything happen? No, because a new attribute is empty. If I would now write something inside, we will see, okay, yeah, the attribute is here, and if we enter value, we also see that this is based on a different layer. At least we see this on a by a different color. So that was step one. Step two is we want to transfer a value from attribute A to attribute B. So inside the block my room, I want to transfer the value from attribute ID to the attribute room_ID. So the value, this value should be transferred into that new attribute. Let's see if that works. Drag, drop, and voila, we have ID is now empty. Why is it empty? Because we have defined that the source attribute should be cleared after the transfer, and we see that the room attribute now has the value of the ID. So last step is delete old attribute, which means for all blocks with that name, the attribute called ID should be deleted. Let's take a look if that works. Drag and drop, select, ID is gone. Why am I thinking about scripting? Let's undo all steps we did. So we have the old situation, we have an attribute ID, we have an attribute name, and besides of the option in CBox to drag and drop one command, we can drag and drop a complete folder of commands. And if we do that, drag and drop, he now executes every single command inside this folder and ready. We see all is done. Where do we use something like that? If we get drawings from other companies and we have to convert these drawings to our own drawing structure, and we know we need our attribute and not theirs, but we get 10 versions, 100 versions of different revisions of their plans. I write this type of conversion one time, make drag and drop and have it converted. With that way we have the possibility to convert drawing structures with one step over a complete drawing. So exchange a block, exchange attributes, exchange layers, exchange text styles and so on. That works one time work to get that configured, but at the moment it is configured, I take the next drawing, say drag and drop, and all is done. That's the advantage, and that's make it easy. It makes it fast, and quality is okay because it is always better than manual work where we can do some errors. Okay, one additional function. Let's see what we can do more. Reporting drawings is one way to check, to verify drawing structures in an easy way. What are we doing? We are collecting different types of reports in the memory until we create the report itself. So we make a test 1, test 2, test 3, and all that will accumulate it, will summarize in the memory, and when I create the report, then it will be shown all the steps that were done before. So let's see what happens. We make one step after the other and then a script. First is we want to collect basic drawing information. Drag and drop, basic drawing information is stored in memory. Let's see what basic drawing information has. It starts automatically with Word. It starts with a document that you can define by yourself, so you can put in your own logo, you can put in your own text styles and so on. So what we have now, our first check was basic drawing information. We see we have a name, we have a path where a drawing is stored, how big the drawing is, a date created, a date opened, date saved, archive flag, just as a sample. Let's see another situation. Number of objects not set to by layer. Drag and drop collects the information. Now we want to export the information. Exported information means we have objects where color is not set by layer, 6 objects. We have 5 objects that are not line type by layer. We have 3 objects with line width not by layer and 1 transparency. We have here a short link, so we can use a hyperlink to zoom to the first of the entities he found to be listed here. So, and we have a bit more here, number of objects and type of objects. And if I want to run all in one test, drag and drop, that's it. We get the information about our basic information, we get our information about objects not by layer, we get the information number of objects and type of objects, so we see we have 4 circles, 7 dimensions and so on, and that with one click. So if someone needs to check specific drawing structure, is a specific object like a polyline allowed on the layer for dimensions or anything else, that is a great tool. Let's see how to configure or how to add one additional function. We first need to go into edit mode. We need to go to the group for analysis and reports. We want to have information about objects and type and layer. Drag and drop. It should be the last before the report will be shown. I can configure some items. I can say only those from model space, not objects from paper space. List all objects detailed by object type, yes. By layer, yes. So we get layers listed, all objects listed, and not filtered to any specific element. We can filter, we can say circles that are on circle layer or polylines that are not polyline layers, whatever we want to discuss or to check here, to audit here. It's a great tool to simply verify, is a drawing structure okay? Let's start. Same again, drag and drop. What do we have now? That are too much layers. I only want to check the CBox layers. Let's see what I can do. I only want to check the elements that are on CBox layers. Drag and drop once again. And we see just one small change, but the time is quite fast we can use to test. We see we have some insertions, one insertion on that layer. We have 5 lines on layer. We have 2 circles on this layer. We have 5 lines on that layer. And so we have a overview over all objects on CBox layers, and we can see if the drawing structure that is defined is done okay, or we are getting errors inside the drawing. And that's quite easy. Let's see how we can use these additional functions, just doing one sample. For example, we want to have polylines, closed polylines. We have inside the polylines room blocks, and we want to fill the room blocks with area. That is quite often a job to do, but we try to do that and to look how to use CBox to get this done. First of all, I create a new group. That is, let's say, test 01. I want to add polylines, or maybe it's easier now to draw rectangles. The execute command is that's what I need most. Inside test, I want to have an execute command. I want that to have rectangle, and the command is underline rectangle. We want to have the polylines for the rectangle on PL for polyline layer. That's it. That is okay. So if we start that function, we see we get these objects done in a quite easy way. All polylines are on the layer we want. So, okay, after having created the polylines, we start creating the blocks. We search, we have the option to search functions in the tree of the available CBox functionality. We want to know where I can find anything with insert. Asterisk, insert asterisk shows all which have the text or help content with insert. So we see here block insert. We take the block insert, edit mode, drag, drop it below of that. Which block do we want to have? We can select a block, or we can enter a block if we know it, and a block layer onto a layer BL. I want to insert for block. Rotation 0, I don't want to be asked for rotation. Scale 1, I don't want to be asked for scale. And attribute request also no. Let's see if that works. Block insert, drag and drop. Ooh, too big, escape. Let's see, scaling 0.1. Again, click, that sounds a bit better. Click, a bit too big, but it's working. So what we have now, we have attributes, and we want to fill the attributes with the area of the polygon. Let's see, again, we want to edit. We delete the search result. We search a new for the new function having to do with area, and let's see if we can see anything that has area. Attribute field with the value of area of attributes. That is what we want to use and selected object. And what we do now is we want to fill polylines. We want to select polylines on a specific layer, which have blocks on a specific layer with a specific block name, and if that exists, fill the attribute with a value. So we have to define polyline layer. We can now PL type in, or if we don't know it, we can select. We can fill the value from a selection. We say, let me select an object and the layer name of the object fill in there. We select the polyline, enter, and get PL filled in. The block layer, again, we select the object, click, and have PL filled in. The block name, again, we can select block name and it gets filled in. The attribute name, we have not filled in an attribute yet, but we can let simulate. We have now filled in an attribute, in the same way we can say take an attribute we select and fill the attribute in. So that is all we need. We can have number of digits, we can add suffix, we can define if we want to use AutoCAD fields, so the polylines area will be inserted as fields, so every region updates the value if the polyline has changed, but that makes the drawing slower, so we will ignore that. We want to fill the area manually. Let's see how it works. Attribute, drag and drop, and that's it. So we have 0.43. Make them a bit smaller, select similar, and 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Okay, and changing our polyline, making it a bit wider. Again, drag, drop, calculate, recalculate it, make that smaller, drag, drop, calculate it. So this shows just a bit of the functionality we have. What I would suggest is start the software, look to the functions that exist. You see a little help about every function that exists inside this small window, where you can see what you have to do. When you select an object and click on it, here you get details, what you can define, what you can change, what you can modify, what you can define as settings for that specific command. And when you're finished with edit, you can save the drawing function file, which setting is here, or save as if you want to give it a new file name. You can work with different files according to the last ones you have loaded. So I wish you the best with the product. Please don't forget, our strength is to get feedback, and we know that the feedback from our customers is the most important to make a software growing, usable, to make it more efficient for the users. We know that your feedback is important for us, and the feedback we get will be implemented as long as it is necessary, or this is usable for more than one person, of course. Every feedback is welcome. We thank you everyone for every single feedback and wish you the best with CBox. Thank you for the time.